I believe that of all Willie Mullins' brilliant, 100 Cheltenham Festival winner training achievements, getting that to win 2 Gold Cups.
Yeah.
How did he do that?
What does Galopin Des Champs have to do to make his way up the list? And does he have to win this year?
Something like last year would be fine. If he dishes out an absolute thrashing to this lot.
Where does he go? Hello and welcome to Inside Track, the debate, William Hill's weekly YouTube series where we bring together 4 personalities from the world of horse racing to discuss and debate some big topics in the sport. And I'm delighted to say that joining me are 3 William Hill ambassadors. To my left, Barry Geraghty, Nick Luck, Leonna Mayer. So great to have you all here with me. And this week we've got a big one because, of course, it is the 100th edition of the Gold Cup then at the 2024 Cheltenham Festival. Now, of course, Arkle, Desi, they've all written their names into the folklore of the race, but we want you to rank the top 5 modern Gold Cup heroes. So the 5 I've got for you are Best Mate, Kauto Star, Bobsworth, Boum Photo, Galopin Des Champs. So you've got your whiteboards, take it away. Right, guys, have you finished your top 5 list? Nick has changed it a few times.
I know, he's writing again now.
I know, which is making me slightly...
I copied and he's changed it.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, Kate. I've just put one right up the top, which has had to shuffle.
Had to move every other.
It's had to shuffle all the others down.
Okay.
Let's now have to put them all down.
Barry's not going to be too cross with me, it's fine.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to say, who are we trying to keep happy in here? The only person we really have to focus on is Barry, so... Neither have I.
Sorry, Barry.
All right.
Right.
Sorry, Kate.
You all ready?
No.
3, 2, 1. Oh, wait a second. I thought you were saying you're trying to keep Barry happy. Bobsworth last.
At least he's still on there.
At least he's still on there.
Okay.
Oh, Leona's gone rogue as well with another name in here.
I didn't even put him on mine. Well, because
Right.
I've got to take somebody off.
And Barry, what have you got as your list? Best Mate, Kauto, Bobs, Galopin, Boum. Right. I feel like first and foremost, because of the analysis that was going into this.
Because Nick's gone rogue.
Nick's gone absolutely rogue and got a name that wasn't on the list top. So Nick, take it away, please.
Okay, probably the performance that left the most emotional impact on me, because it was such a big build up to the race, Denman, Kauto, and I just thought that part of that race in 2008, between the time they passed the stands the first time and about 2 out, was just one of the most spellbinding things I've ever seen. So therefore, unfairly, unjustly, with no sound logic, I had to crowbar him in here. And the only way to crowbar him in here, so I got the first say, was to put him at the top. So therefore, he's at the top.
Yeah.
And I expected everyone to put Kauto Star above Best Mate. But in fact, Barry and
Leona hasn't.
Kate have both gone the same as me, which is Best Mate above Kauto Star.
No, Leona hasn't though.
No.
Leona is stuck with Kauto Star over, but Leona's also got a rogue one in there.
But it's an obvious one, I think. Coneygree, how could we not? Obviously, Mark Bradstock and Sarah, so brave to even try with a novice chaser. That was unbelievable. And to be honest, I'm really sad that we never got to see him in there again. And we didn't, because he was just a horse who was plagued with injuries. There was always kind of something that they couldn't quite get right with him, which was such a shame. I always feel like the kind of, we've got loads of them, but that what could have been horses that we just don't get to see at the top level again, or we don't get to see quite as they were. I think he was one of those horses. I just think so brave of them as well, and for such a small team to go for it in itself was unbelievable.
And to win so much.
So I'm sorry that I took Bobsworth off, but I thought
so Bobsworth was the one. I was trying to say my brain couldn't work quick enough to see
Who I'd
you had
taken
admitted.
off.
So Bobsworth's got the boot. Bobsworth's bottom of mine. Bobsworth is bottom of Nick's as well. Barry, we've not tried to keep you sweet here whatsoever. You've got him as third.
Poor old Bob.
Make the case for Bob there. What was he like?
The case for Bob. Bob won at 3 Cheltenham festivals. He won the Albert Bartlett, he won the RSA, he won the Gold Cup when he beat Long Run and Sir de Champs. So
pretty good form, actually.
That's for me, that's stronger form than Boum Photo's 2 Gold Cups, where I was second on Annabelle Fly and he beat Santini. So Bobsworth's better than that. Galopin Des Champs beat Brave Man's Game 7 lengths. That's good, solid form. But Bowser was mine, so he goes ahead of him.
I think as we put kind of Gold Cup heroes, I think if Galopin goes and wins it this year, then maybe next year when we do this, we'll be saying it. But I think winning one, even in any kind of fashion.
Yeah. It's funny, actually, because even though I binned off poor old Boum Photo here,
a dual Gold Cup.
In some ways, in some ways, he kind of should be here on the basis that I believe that of all Willie Mullins' brilliant, 100 Cheltenham Festival winner training achievements, getting that to win 2 Gold Cups.
Yeah.
How did he do that?
But it's not the training performance. It's not the Willie Mullins versus Paul Nicholls.
No, I know, but you know what
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, but it's
It's nuts that horse won 2 Gold Cups.
yeah.
It's hard enough
Although
to win
Ruby
one.
thinks he would have won the RSA or no?
When he broke his leg.
He broke his
Yeah,
leg.
yeah,
The second last.
He was staying on.
Yeah. So he was going to win in punches. Then when Paul decided to turn
Take a
right
diversion.
on the way to the last, they're all good horses. But it's funny, like if you look at their form. So Kauto Star beat Exotic Dancer in his first Gold Cup, and he beat Denman in the second. Best Mate beat Sir Rembrandt, Trucker's Tavern,
Comanche Court in his
Comanche
first one.
Court. But none of those 3 horses ever won a race afterwards. I don't think it was because they were broken after that, but Trucker's Tavern was a stay-in handicapper. So you can pigeonhole.
How good each
one
Gold
is.
Cup was at that time.
Denman was brilliant, there's no doubt. Kauto was brilliant one year, but then beating Exotic Dancer wasn't going to blow you away the next year. So it's easy to find fault.
And it's easy to look back with rose-tinted glasses in that whimsical way, because when you just say the name Sir Rembrandt, he was, again, one of the first horses to get me into racing. I loved that horse so much. So for me, when you talk back through some of Best Mate's Gold Cup wins and the horses that he'd beaten, I look back at it with rose-tinted glasses because those horses to me were the ultimate. And that's why I've got Best Mate as number 1, because for me, he was just the ultimate Gold Cup horse, because he was almost like a soulless individual. He was a plain
Just kept going, he never fell.
No, that's it. He was so...
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Henrietta.
I don't think she means it in a, I don't think she means soulless in a
I'd say-
spiteful way.
Yeah,
Like
beautiful,
it was
look at
like
him.
a
I
bit
thought he
like
was,
she
and
is,
he
is
was
what you mean. He just
professional.
kept
Yeah.
going all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's what you mean. don't
That's
you? Not
exactly it.
soulless.
A machine, not soulless, but he was just born to be a
Professional.
racehorse. Professional. There was no airs or graces. There was no messing about with him. That's what I mean by soulless, is that the fact he was just such a machine to do what he did. And I feel that that's why when we've got Boum Photo as well, he did the whole full circle approach to them from the training back to the Henrietta night days, where he was targeted at the Tremor race, the New Year's Day race, managed to get it turned into a grade 3 from a listed race because of it, and then targeted the Gold Cup, which, as you say, Nick, was one of the greatest training performances of Willie Mullins' career. One of those races that was just eluding him, and then to go and win it with Boum was mind-blowing twice.
This horse, Best Mate, is funny actually because history doesn't judge him that kindly considering he won 3 Gold Cups. But as AP McCoy pointed out, and AP rode him a couple of times, he was the perfect horse for this race because he was so economical. He never wasted an inch at any of his fences, and Jim Cullity could just sit him, box seat, inside, handy,
Stayed
tipping
stood up no
away,
matter what.
stayed stood up, never made a mistake.
Sweet traveller, really
Yeah.
professional.
I mean, the balance of his form will never get anywhere near this. It won't really get near this, and you could argue it's not even up to the best of this, or indeed Bob. But just at Cheltenham on that day, he was just always did things exquisitely.
You knew what you
Yeah,
were
that
gonna
was it,
get.
perfection. Unlike the likes of Kauto, where Kauto is the other end of a scale in terms of a character of a horse, where I feel that almost his vulnerabilities made him more of a likeable horse, because he fell, I think, 3 times in his career, unseated on another occasion as well. But it almost made you love him more because he had that brilliance.
Not quite as reliable.
But that was it. He wasn't quite as reliable. So when he did both, that was it. He was watching him coming down to the last, sort of thinking, what's he going to do at this? But
You could set
made
your
him
clock by
remarkable.
Best Mate.
Yeah.
I know, he was predictable if you want.
But then being quirky is probably what made him be able to be a, kind of the top chaser over 2 miles, 2.5, 3 mile. That is that is not a thing, is it? You a good horse could probably just about get away with winning
Yeah.
over
I mean,
2 in a lesser race or against lesser horses.
Yeah.
But to be the top rated over all those different trips
No,
is
that
is
took some
unbelievable.
special.
How can you have the speed and the stamina and be so good at the top level?
Yeah, because if you said, right, who are the best chasers since the war, you'd stick Desert Orchid and Sprinter Sacra, and you'd probably put Arkle on top of the whole lot, and your Kauto Star would be in there. This boy is not going to be in that conversation, but he is in a Gold Cup conversation.
Yeah, that's it, in the Gold Cup conversation. But why do you think that is? Do you think that is just because that was his race, that was his target, and because he didn't have all of the other contests that
He did it so effortlessly in those, in the way he went through the races.
Yeah.
Yeah, did what he needed to do.
But it would have been interesting, wouldn't it, if he had made the 4th when you won on Kicking King, because he came out the week before, didn't he, with a broken blood vessel?
He did, yeah.
Would have been interesting to see. He might have been on the down then. You might have still had him.
Yeah, and you could argue his form, is probably not as strong as King was coming on the back of winning the King George. So yeah, he was probably just a dipping, but it didn't happen. So
No.
We'll never know.
No, and then just on Kauto as well. Now, Nick's obviously gone slightly rogue and putting Denman in. But Leon, do you sort of think the rivalry that Kauto had with Denman, again, made us like him that bit more so? Because, they were, again, such contrasting characters. Denman was this miserable tank of a thing. Kauto was this lovely, really, you could see the way Paul Nicholls spoke about him. He just filled his heart. And they had contrasting personalities from the same yard. The rivalry. How much of a rivalry do we factor in when we're assessing individual horses?
Well, I think the conversation to be had is difficult comparing to the likes of Best Mate, because we were in such a different era, as in the social media thing was so different. We see so much of these horses now, which is how you get to love them or hate them as regards their personality. How, we don't get to know from years ago what personalities were like. Not really. Whereas we have that proper thing now where we're all seeing them day to day. We're seeing them in their normal life. And the fact that Denman and Kauto was loved by so many people, but they were very different horses. And both, Sam Thomas, I always thought was such a great rider and got such a good tune out of him. But I can see why, both of them were so loved by people, but they were so unbelievably different. But as I say, I think for me, the Kauto thing it's the trip thing being so good at all those different levels as well.
All the different ones, wasn't it? But I feel like between, again, Kauto and Denman, if you asked your average man on the street who had any sort of awareness of racing, are you team Kauto or Denman? Everyone seemed to have an answer for you. And no one was really, oh, no, I like both of them. Everyone seemed to be one camp or the other. I was always Denman. So that's why I probably should have been doing what Nick's done here. But horses like that, though, and when you've got something that can bridge the gap then into your general public and that kind of rivalry, it seems to make a huge difference.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But they were two monsters at the time. And that clash, that was teed up as some clash. And it was brilliant how it came off. But I suppose Kauto, he got beaten in one, he came back and won his Gold Cup, so he's the only horse to regain it. But it's probably his King Georges then that really set him apart. So he was a different model. Denman would have never fared out in a King George. Neither would Bobsworth. Hard to say Boum Photo. Galopin Des Champs would have had the pace for it. Coneygree wouldn't. So it's a specialist race, the King George, but the Gold Cup then is. You need the pace, you need the stamina. It's more of an all-rounder, I think.
An all-rounder. And then, Nick, what does Galopin Des Champs have to do to make his way up the list? And does he have to win this year?
Something like last year would be fine.
Similar
he ran to a very high level. The front pair were a long way clear. This is a cracking Gold Cup this year.
Yes, yeah, it is.
If he dishes out an absolute thrashing to this lot,
where does he go?
Yeah,
where does he go?
Does he
get to Kauto?
He's not going to get.
He's stuck.
These three are enshrined, aren't they?
So he's staying fourth no matter what.
This year's race is a good race, but it probably lacks the vintage of Denman, Kauto.
There's a few honourable mentions that need to go in here, though, aren't there? Coneygree was definitely one of them. Don Cossack, I reckon, is another one.
Ooh, that's
I reckon he was very good the day he won the Gold Cup. He was a very high class horse that'll never really be remembered.
Yeah.
By the same sire as Shishkin.
Yes.
And probably the best horse Gordon Elliott's trained.
Yeah. Beat Willie's horse, who was second in 3.
Did he beat Jackadam?
Jackadam, the
Q
big
card was going well when he fell at the top of the hill.
Q-Card was going well when he fell.
Yeah.
So
again, are you picking holes in the form and then behind?
To a degree, you can.
He was good, though.
He was good. He was
gorgeous
good.
as well.
He was good.
Yeah. And I think he'd have beaten Vittor and Q-Card in the King George if he hadn't fallen as well.
Can't win if you don't say stood off.
Not fully sure about that.
Can't say the one if
it's often a reflection on how you're going if you make a bad mistake or fall.
Yeah.
If you're going well, if you're going really well, you rarely fall.
So Q-Card, even going back to him then in that Gold Cup,
Yeah.
you would say that, because I know that a lot of people would still argue that was his.
Well, he was going well, but you're a long way from home. You've seen lots of horses travelling well at that point in the Gold Cup and not finishing the first 3. So it's you couldn't say he's a King George winner, so he had the pace. You couldn't say for sure, but he was travelling well.
Yeah, no, he really was. But that's interesting though.
Poor old Long Run hasn't had a single mention.
No.
And there you go.
Star and Denman.
He was, and he was involved in all those races.
Yeah.
Part of that as well. Yeah, so he's another honourable mention. So we'd have Long Run, Don Cossack, Who else would you have as
The more I look at this, the more I think Boum Photo is just like...
For a dual winner, isn't it? But it's true. Santini and Annabelle Fly.
God, Annabelle Fly, you
Take
managed to
somebody
get
off.
him into second World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be your greatest ride of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of maximising a horse's ability.
Yeah. There wasn't much more to be got, I don't think.
But I want to go back to Bobsworth again, because I feel like we haven't covered him all that much, because if you were to talk about a horse with the way that the National Hunt season is laid out year on year, he did exactly what you want for a Gold Cup horse to go on and win, to win the Albert Bartlett, to win the RSA, to win the Gold Cup. That's your absolute dream for your staying chaser to go and do. But why is he not really getting the credit that...
He is.
Well, he is on one, but that's understandable.
How much did you pay for him?
16,000, I think.
16.
And how much?
Selling to Nicky for
How much do you sell him for?
20.
Not enough.
In the middle of a recession. Downturn.
But he was only tiny, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't actually that small. Physically, he was a small individual, as in he didn't have a big scopy back end, good shoulder. He was probably not far off 16.2.
Really?
He was tall
He
enough.
talked about like he was a small horse.
Very
Like a
short
small
horse.
butty. Small butty type.
Yeah.
But really, he actually
he was
did have a big
actually
body.
probably high of his wither. So he measured taller than he was to stand into,
How many horses do you reckon you bought?
and sold
Yeah.
20, 25,
That's it. Really? 25. 24 horses.
I'd say.
And Bobsworth and Constitution Hill are two.
Constitution Hill,
Yeah,
two of
I mean,
them.
you've done
You
all
want to
right.
do a bit more of this?
Yeah.
You're quite good at it.
Why would you not do more?
Let's
Or
all get
why
Barry
would-
to buy us a horse.
Yeah.
Might do all right
Team
now a
up.
bit longer.
Yeah, it's
Can you find us a Gold Cup winner, please?
Yeah.
I can
Or champion hurdle, we'll take that.
do that as well.
Good
So
man.
why would you not do more of that?
Because I love sitting here with you, Kate. chatting.
Well, that was nicely
Great answer. Great
nicely
answer.
chopped back at me there. Ball's back in my court then. So, but like I say, the strike rate though, considering those horses, and not necessarily ones that would be like the Sprinter Sacra type of model either. So not necessarily obvious ones, but
But you can't afford the obvious ones.
No.
They cost hundreds of thousands, whereas the extra two boys cost 16 grand each.
But we have got, no sort of idea really for who's going to be number one then in our list. So it's over to you then. In the comment section, let us know which one of us has actually got this right with our top 5 modern Gold Cup heroes. Everyone's putting their hands up now that they're the correct ones. We've made our case, but do let us know.
It's actually Seymour Business.
Yeah, Nick's still chucking more names into the mix. And again, do let us know any other names that we may well have missed then from the Gold Cup winners in recent years. That should be going on to the list. But thank you to the guys for all of their hard work and all of their efforts and cases made on this week's show. But do stay tuned there, because we have so much more content coming your way on Inside Track the Debate. Thank you so much for watching Inside Track the Debate, brought to you by William Hill. If you'd like to see any of our previous episodes, click the link in the screen. 18+, please gamble responsibly.